to a new episode of the Guru Perspective. I'm your host, the Guru himself, Hugh Lee. I want to talk about a few things that happened over the weekend. It was some crazy scenarios going on, some things that need to be figured out too in the NFL. But I want to start off with the true American game, the college football aspect of it all, the Army and versus Navy game. The game wasn't too bad, but if you're looking for a high scoring, like just really crazy game, you're not going to get that with Army versus Navy. Very disciplined. I like the way they do things and how they execute the old school style of play from both teams. You know, you have like the option plays and the different things as far as the run game and the run scheme, almost kind of like the Wildcat style. They got the triple option and different things that they keep traditional, and they kept those things and they're keeping it moving forward. But it's a pretty good game between two good disciplined teams. This one looked like it was going to be an Army game until it wasn't. They came out looking very explosive at first. I looked at the game and seen the actual passing yards and things like that. I'm not going to really look at those statistics most times. I'm going to focus on the run game and just the discipline of the defenses, and that's what I've seen in this game. It's a pretty good game. I definitely like the way they played and the style of game that they play because it's definitely something that's not as flashy as what we normally used to seeing. It was a really good contest. At one point, I looked and I said, man, they look like they have the potential to score a lot more points. Why are they not scoring? But it was just good, a game of chess to me between two good disciplined defenses. And the offenses, kind of suffered from that in a way. But it was a hard hitting game. Kale Helms, the quarterback for Army, had 82 yards from 5 to 10 passing. Like I said, those statistics is not going to really jump out at the paper on you. But then you have Kale Halem's run game. He had 25 carries for 100 yards and the score. And Blake Horvath, yeah, these are definitely Army names right now. He was 7 to 14 with a touchdown and a pick on the day with 82 yards. Isn't that ironic? And the run game was almost similar, 34 carries for a touchdown and 107 yards. On the other hand, Eli Heidenreich looked really good as far as the wide receiver play for Navy. He had 6 receptions for a touchdown. And that game was very relatively close. Like I said, that final score was Navy coming back and winning that game 17 to 16. We're going to get more into the bowl games coming up too, starting on the 19th. I know Alabama and Oklahoma and some of them games will be playing, and I will be giving my predictions on those. And I want to start off too by talking about some of those games right now. Right now you have the Alabama and Oklahoma game, number 9 Alabama versus Oklahoma. If I had to choose right now, I'm not really sure what's going on with Alabama right now, but I got them with a slight edge because I feel like as bad as they've been playing, it's hard to beat a team twice at this point. And I believe right now, trying to just break everything down to you and be honest, I just really don't believe Kalen DeBoer he can afford to lose this game. I really don't think that he could. Alabama fans are starting to have fits and they're getting upset. It's been the rumors going around lately, just in case you guys haven't heard too, that Kalen DeBoer at Michigan because they feel like a high-powered job like Alabama when you lose someone who's considered one of the greatest coaches of all time in Nick Saban and then having to fulfill, that void and trying to live up to that expectations is a little too much for some people. I don't know what's going on over there right now in Alabama. Does he feel like this is a perfect fit, or would he consider moving on? Because I definitely been hearing his name come up a lot when it comes up to the Michigan Wolverines job, and it's a lot going on there. That's another story for another day. I feel like in this game, I will give a slight edge to Alabama. I have them by half a point, well, a point and a half. And we'll just have to see because I definitely feel like they have the talent on this team. I don't really know what John Mateer is going to do. The problem is the very huge void right now, and a huge problem going on Alabama side is I've been hearing rumors about Ty Simpson having a bad back, and you can tell because I felt like he played a little too vanilla recently. And that's one of the things I looked at because I had no idea what was going on as far as him and his physical standpoint. But if this is the case, yeah, this is why I see that they haven't been playing and executing like they should. But at this point, I'm still giving Alabama the edge. Don't let me down on this one. And then on December the 20th, that Saturday, you have a game, and it's going to be a really good game. You're going to have Miami versus Texas A&M. I believe Texas A&M can win this game, but I'm not really counting out Miami. They have Texas A&M with a 3-point favor. I'm going to go under that now. Take Texas A&M at home. The problem with them is if Miami defense start playing good and rattle them. I see Marcel Reed, and sometimes he don't play well. Carson Beck, once he get into problems as well as far as passing, he starts to struggle. So if you could keep both of those guys clean, I think this would be a good contest. Marcel Reed definitely need to redeem himself, how poor he played as of late. But I definitely feel like right now, if I have to choose between 10 and 7, I would give a slight edge to Texas A&M. And then you have a Tulane game versus Ole Miss. I'm definitely believing Ole Miss will beat Tulane, and I'm going to take the 17 and a half points. I just feel like they're too talented. Unfortunately, we already know what happened when Lane Kiffin, he accepted the job at LSU, but I still don't think that that's going to change anything as far as the momentum that they have. So I'm going to go with Ole Miss in this one. I definitely like the quarterback play with Trinidad Chamberlain. I really don't too much know a lot about, Tulane, but I know they are a pretty good disciplined team. These are just teams right now is filling the void, I believe, as far as the playoff. We will get 16 teams eventually, but this is one of those games where I feel like some people gonna look at it like they didn't belong, and this is the reason why. Speaking of games of that nature, you have number 12 James Madison versus Oregon. I believe that in this game right here, no disrespect to James Madison. Yes, they're 12-1, but I believe number 5 Oregon will beat them convincingly, and Dante Moore will do his thing, and he will excel in this game. I believe this was going to be a big game for him. I believe right now you have him as one of the guys who was one of the Heisman hopefuls. That kind of faded. We already know who the Heisman is. I like to say congratulations to Fernando Mendoza. It was something that I feel like that was well deserved. People look at it and they feel like Cam Ward had better numbers last year and he didn't win. But you got to look at the team for itself. Nobody looked at Indiana's Indiana Hoosiers in football for one, and two, the way they played and how they executed and how they beat the number one team in the country, Ohio State. It was a really good defensive game. It wasn't a lot of offense, and they shut them down. I mean, if you can shut down Ohio State to 10 points and how explosive they have been, I don't believe this will happen again. This was a wake-up call for OSU, but still, I believe after that game that solidified as Heisman hopefuls because the Penn State game almost crushed everything because Penn State was close to winning. But that spectacular catch in the end zone. It was an NFL catch that he caught too, as well. That saved his season, and I believe beating Ohio State basically solidified him, Fernando Mendoza, as the Heisman winner. And congratulations once again. I just feel like this is going to be a cakewalk game, and not trying to be disrespectful to James Madison. I hope it's closer than the 21 points that I'm giving Oregon, but they will have to show and prove to me that they're a team that belongs right now. That being said, those are my predictions right now. I have Alabama with a point and a half. Then I have Texas A&M. I'll give them the 3-point advantage while they're at home. Ole Miss, I'm going to give them 17 and a half on this one. And then Oregon, I'm going to give them a 21 and a half point favor to go ahead and advance into the next round. I want to move on and I want to talk about some things that happened in the NFL. And it wasn't a lot going on right now in the NFL. And I'm going to just be honest with you. I feel like some things that could have been done. And I just felt like things could have been a little better than what I thought that it was going to be. It was some blowout games, a lot of blowout games. But then at this point in the year, you're going to have games like that. You're going to have some games that have a little bit more meaning. Surprising enough to me that I seen the game that I felt like had meaning, and I really thought that at this point that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would run away with it. It was a really good game, and they were up pretty big at one point. It was 28-14 until it wasn't. But then you have to give credit where credit is due. Kirk Cousins played and executed a really good game plan. He had 373 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns. On the other hand, Baker Mayfield didn't look bad. He had 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had a pick on the day. Bijan Robinson stepped up with 93 yards on 19 carries and the score. Mike Evans looked pretty good with 6 receptions and 132 yards for the Buccaneers. But the person who stepped his game up, and it was like it's about time they finally let this guy get his chance to shine. And I believe that this was a really big game for him. I hope that he can continue to excel and step up to the occasion. But this man, Kyle Pitts looked really sharp in this game. When I seen this game, I said, okay, I'm really surprised at what was going on. And I felt like at this point, I said, look at how well he played and how he executed. He had really his best day, I believe, as a professional in the NFL. 166 yards, and he had 3 scores in this one. So I would like to give shouts out and give credit to Kyle Pitts in this game. That final score was a little questionable because one of the scores that I've seen when Kyle Pitts caught the ball in the back of the end zone, he had his elbow and his backside laying at the same time. And when he did that, that elbow looked like it was out before he landed in bounds. And it kind of did it almost at the same time, which would should have been considered a non-touchdown. They gave it to him anyway. At the end of the game, I felt like that was a crucial point, but at the same time, you can't let a team who you had down 28-14 come back and beat you like that. So I blame the Buccaneers before I blame anything else as far as the poor officiating, because the officiating has been really bad as of late in the NFL, and that's one thing that I definitely wanted to talk about. But I will get into the other games. I looked at the Bills and Patriots game. A lot of people were upset and felt like the referees had a lot to do with it, but they were in New England, so I didn't really think so. Drake May played okay. I didn't think he played like he normally did the regular part of the season. I feel like at this point, Josh Allen took advantage of the advantages that he had with, a lot of the things that went on in the game as far as the field. They had a lot of good field position in this game, but Drake May was basically normal today. He didn't excel and play like the people feel like him being an MVP candidate. He had 155 yards and an interception. The person who stepped up their game a lot was Trevion Henderson. Man, he really stepped up and showed he's their number one. Even though Ramondre Stevenson looked really good in this game, but the big breakaways that he had, I think he had like a 50 and a 60-yard run in the game with 2 touchdowns. He had 148 yards on 14 carries. So that was a really good game. But at the same time, James Cook on the other end with Buffalo had 107 yards on 22 carries and 2 scores as well. This was a really good game, and I enjoyed what I was seeing. But Josh Allen really looked sharp in this game, even though his numbers through the air didn't look like it. He had 193 yards, but he had 3 scores in this game, and it was a really good comeback victory at the end. At the end, I believe Joey Bosa stepped up and they put pressure on Drake May, which he hasn't seemed like he had most of this year. And at this point of the game, in a critical moment, he just couldn't handle it. It was a good swat at the line of scrimmage that caused them to go 4-and-out. And then at this point now, Buffalo still has a chance to do something in the division. They're 10-4, and New England is a game ahead of them right now. So that final score was 35-31. I want to hurry up and get into this game right here and just talk about what happened. This was the midday game. The game of the week was the game between the Colts and the Seahawks, but you really know what time it is. The game of the week was really the Lions versus the Rams at home. We had an advantage. We were 3-1 against Matthew Stafford, but at this point, and I'm gonna be honest with you, It's crucial for us. We don't really know if we're going to make the playoff as the Detroit Lions. They got to win out, and how very inconsistent they have been. I'm not really sure if that's going to happen. They got to be Pittsburgh at home, which I still feel like right now we don't have a home field advantage because we haven't been looking so good. The offense has been stepping up, but the defense has been very bad. This is something that's been an Achilles heel for us for almost 5 years is how bad the defense been. Yes, we can score the ball, but we can't just get into these battles where we got to continue to outscore teams to win. That's what it's like right now. And if you can't stop anybody, that's the problem. It was some controversial things that happened in this game, and I would definitely like to admit that. The one score when they gave it to them and they was saying that it was a touchdown, it clearly wasn't a touchdown. But at the same time, that doesn't matter. We had to make stops in this play. At the beginning of the game, it seemed like they were up for the occasion. But it was like the defense really went back to who they are and who they always have been. Yes, we have injuries and we have guys who are out, but still, we look at it like the next man up type of mentality, but the next man up hasn't really been executing really well. It's a lot that I'm going to talk about too once it comes to at the end of the season. I don't know if we'll be able to make the playoffs. If we do, I'll talk about it. But if not, I'll talk about some of the things that I believe that they need to go back to and look at the drawing board as far as the draft. It'll definitely be me in draft mode if they don't make it. But until then, I'm going to just enjoy the season and figure out what happened and just look and see what goes on with the next few games. Matthew Stafford had a really solid game. He had 368 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had a pick early in his game. Kyron Williams played pretty good as well, 78 yards, 15 carries, and he got the ball on the goal line and he took advantage and scored twice. Jared Goff didn't look bad neither. He looked pretty sharp in this game. 338 yards and 3 touchdowns. I usually give this man a hard time, but when he get a chance to show himself and he gets protection, he really execute well. Jameer Gibbs didn't get a chance to shine like he normally do, and normally when he scores, we're 8-0. At this point, he didn't score, so we're 0-6. He had 38 yards on 13 carries, so they made sure that they didn't let Jameer Gibbs beat them. That was one of the goals of them winning this game. Puka Nacua had 181 yards on 9 receptions. Amon-Ra St. Brown really stepped up for us in this game. 164 yards on 13 receptions and 2 scores. This was a really good contest, but it was a back and forth. And I feel like the person who had the ball last won. They were already up a touchdown. We had 2 minutes to try to execute and get the ball back, but it didn't materialize that way. Final score was 34-41. Yes, I was a little disappointed. A lot of people called me upset saying, man, the refs always seem like they're having their hands in the games that are very crucial to us and for us to try to seal the deal and win some of these contests. But at the same time, I couldn't blame everything on the refs because let's be honest, that defense is really bad. They didn't step up and do what they needed to do. And you can't blame a lot of it on Jared Goff. A lot of people I've been looking online was saying, oh, Jared Goff need to leave. We need to get a Marcel Reed or somebody who's more mobile as a quarterback. He wasn't the problem in this game. The problem was, no disrespect to Meek Robinson. Every time I see him, he's on the other team highlight reel. And at the same time, too, you had Puka Nacua and you had Devontae Adams both leave the game at one point with injuries. I don't know how critical the Puka Nacua injury is, but I know right now the Devontae Adams injury is week to week. So at this point, it's been a lot of injuries, and there's some things, unfortunately, you hate to see, but possibility it might help us out because there's still games I need to talk about that have playoff implications. And a certain point at this time of year with these injuries, a lot of guys are out and they're out for the rest of the season. So we're going to see how that pan out. Like I said, that final score was 34-41. The Rams won. No disrespect. Yeah, I was a little disappointed on the play call, but at the same time, I still feel like this was a game the Rams was going to win. I was just surprised that we executed and we was even close in this game. Then you had the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Chargers. This was a critical game because in this game, we got to talk about Patrick Mahomes. He suffered injury in this one. I believe this is MCL. He's out for the rest of the season, of course. His numbers didn't really look too good against that really good defense over there with the Los Angeles Chargers, too. He had 189 yards and he had a pick on the day. Justin Hubbard, after coming off the injury, played not as good as I expected, but at the same time, good enough to win the game. And that's all that matters to Coach Harbaugh. He had 210 yards to score and an interception on the day. Marion Hampton had 61 yards on 15 carries, very pedestrian game on that end. And Isaiah Pacheco had 11 carries, 21 yards. The surprising part of this is Travis Kelsey was the highlight person of the game with 7 receptions and 70 yards. And then on the other end, you had Aronde Gaddison or Gatson. He had 61 yards on 4 receptions. Wasn't really a clean game. It wasn't a lot of scoring on this, for more or less field goals. But with Patrick Mahomes, correction, he tore his ACL in this one. So yeah, they're eliminated from the playoffs. That's the reason I want to talk about that. We're complaining as Michiganders saying, man, the Detroit Lions ain't playing well and very upset, which I know we're not. We're not playing up to expectations. The defense is awful. It's a lot of things that we can talk about that I will eventually get to. But when you look at a Kansas City Chiefs team who was in the Super Bowl 3 years in a row, and it's unfortunate because the injuries are starting to come out now. You have Travis Kelsey, who's going to have to make a decision. Is he going to come back? Which I doubt if he will. I believe after losing the Super Bowl, give you more motivation to run it back than just having a game in the season where you don't make the playoffs and where you're 6-8. I remember hearing Chris Jones saying we still have a chance, and that's when they said after the game that they were out of the playoffs. The look on his face and the look of disgust, man, because if they would have closed that game out, they still would have had a tiny window. Right now, I'm looking at the chances right now for the teams. And I believe definitely, if I'm not mistaken, another win from the Chargers, and they're definitely in at 10-4. It's looking really good for them. That final score was 16-13. I want to move on to a really good game that I didn't think was going to be that good. The Colts and Seahawks. There wasn't a lot of scoring in this game. Philip Rivers came off the couch after all the injuries that happened over there with the Indianapolis Colts. Philip Rivers had 121 yards, a touchdown, and a pick on the day. Sam Darnold had 271 yards, and he was 22 of 36. The crazy part about this game is I don't even think it was a touchdown scored. It was all field goals for the most part, besides the Philip Rivers touchdown. Zach Charbonnet didn't do much on the ground, 31 yards on 8 carries. Jonathan Taylor had 87 yards, but the main thing is if you can stop him, then you can win the game. He had 87 yards and 25 carries, but he didn't get in the end zone, so that was big. But Jackson Smith and Jigba had 7 receptions and 113 yards. That final score was 18-16. It was kind of an ugly game, but when you look at it, it was really good because it was still competitive. When nobody gave them a chance and thought that this game was really going to be ugly with the Seattle Seahawks defense, both defenses stepped up, and at the same time, it took a field goal to win this game. So I give credit where credit is due for Philip Rivers and how well he played and how he executed. And I would like to say, congratulations on your comeback. I want to see how they do the rest of the season because still they have an opportunity and their chances are slim. 8-6, they still have an opportunity that if they can win all the rest of their games and they're in. I want to go ahead and I want to talk about the Packers and Broncos game because this had a lot of playoff implications as well. This was a crucial game, unfortunately, because Micah Parsons torn his ACL and he's out for the season. This was a game that I picked, and I just felt like Denver was going to eventually wake up, and they did exactly that. Bo Nix really stepped up on this stage. That defense already was going to help them win this game, I believe, and it was enough to beat them only if Bo Nix played clean. And boy, did he play clean. 302 yards, he had 4 touchdowns, and he looked really sharp. It was a wake-up call because, a lot of people looked at the team and felt like the Denver Broncos were playing pedestrian this year, and I feel the same way, all honesty. But 302 yards, 4 touchdowns, man, that was really good for him on the day. And when you look at it too, you seen RJ Harvey, who didn't do a lot, but 65 yards on 19 carries and the touchdown really helped them out. And Cortland Sutton stepped up that game. 7 receptions, 113 yards in the score. Josh Jacobs' ground and pound was pretty good and was good enough for them. He had 12 carries, a touchdown, and he had 73 yards. Jordan Love, on the other hand, had a pedestrian game. When you got a really good defense to put pressure on him and give him fits, definitely in the cold air too over there in Denver. That was a cold weather game. They both play in the cold. But when you can put pressure on Jordan Love, that's how you win games. He had 276 yards, a touchdown, but those two picks was crucial too, because that was the reason that they went down and they scored points off of those picks. So I have to give credit where credit is due because a lot of people possibly didn't have Denver going and beating them. Well, Denver was at home. So Denver being at home and beating them, I felt like why didn't you guys think Denver would win at home? But since they thought that Green Bay was going to take their talents and take it on the road and go in there and punch Denver in the mouth, I feel like you had another thing coming. That final score was 34-26. And yeah, a lot of the reason people probably look at it and say it because you had Micah Parsons being injured, and that was one of the possibilities why this game was won. But no, they were winning before he got hurt. It was just unfortunate. It seems like most years that he have those freak accidents, and at this point, when you've seen those injuries too, man, something got to be said. And what the heck is going on with this turf? They got to do a better job, and I believe they need to take up this turf and do better as far as putting the grass out there on the field. Yeah, it makes sometimes for nasty conditions, but when you look at it, a lot of guys are not getting hurt because I looked at the Puka Nakua injury. I looked at Devontae Adam injury. Both of them were non-contact injuries. And when you seen the game too with Patrick Mahomes, it was a non-contact injury. He just fell to the ground and he was holding his leg. Yeah, he ran, but nobody touched him. And when you seen the Micah Parsons, he was running and he was trying to get to the quarterback. Of course, another injury that was non-contact. All these guys wasn't touching. They were on the ground holding their leg. And I believe a lot of it has to do with the turf that they're playing on. That's been a huge complaint lately, and it seems like something needs to be done about it. Because I mean, come on, you guys, how many more guys need to get hurt? And some of the talented people who I feel like this was like really impactful too. I know, like I said, I'm not really sure how long Puka Nakua is going to be out, but then you have Devontae Adams, who's week to week, and then you have your star quarterback of all the NFL, the face of the NFL, may I add, Patrick Mahomes, who's injured and he's out the rest of the season. Then you have Micah Parsons, who's injured, out for the rest of the season. And the sad part about it is Devontae Adams, yes, he still is in the playoff. They clinched. But week to week and having nagging injuries like that can be a problem. So, yes, something has to be done. And I'm hoping that they can take care of business and focus on doing a better job as far as what they do, as far as the turf and putting in more grass to make the players more protected and keep them safe. Because right now, I don't think that they're safe with this turf, and they needs to really step their game up and figure out what they're going to do to keep these guys healthy. That's just my opinion because I'd rather see them if they do get an injury at least have an injury where they can have more chances of recovering than being out the rest of the season because that turf, you can see those guys. It seems like they're hyperextending and they're hurting their legs without even, being held up. You don't even see people around them most times. It's non-contact injuries. So if you guys want, I would say go back and check out those injuries. Most times, I mean, besides the hyperextension on Patrick Mahomes at first, I believe that's what started the pain and the injury that he had. But him running when he fell to the ground and grabbed his knee, it was non-contact. Same thing with Micah Parsons. So yeah, those injuries got those guys out the rest of the season. But that final score was 34-26. And I just feel like those guys need to protect the players more. And the health and the safety of the players is more important than anything. Rip up that turf and start putting in better grass turf to help protect these guys. I mean, NFL, y'all can at least do that. Y'all giving us really bad, poor officiating, and you're not really calling the games like you should. A lot of plays has been getting passed off as catches and all this other stuff, man. But like I said, I don't even want to get into that right now. I want to focus on the other games that I want to talk about. One of them was the Dallas Cowboys and the Minnesota Vikings. I know people like you, why the hell are you talking about this game? It doesn't really make sense you talking about it. None of these teams are in the playoffs. Yes, none of them are in the playoffs now, but this had playoff implications on it. This game, I felt like the Dallas Cowboys, after losing to the Lions, would step in and say, okay, let us handle business. We got to do our jobs. Dak Prescott didn't really look too sharp in his game. He did okay, 294 yards, 23 of 38. Javante Williams had 15 carries, 91 yards in the score. JJ McCarthy on the other end with the Minnesota Vikings didn't do too bad. 250 yards, 15 to 24, two touchdowns, and he had a pick on the day. Aaron Jones, 12 carries, 34 yards. He was pretty pedestrian in this game. The Cowboys did a good job of making him pedestrian, and he didn't really do much to execute in this game. TJ Hawkinson had 4 receptions, 66 yards. CD Lamb had 6 receptions for 111 yards. Very good back and forth, but at the end of the day, I was surprised to see how JJ McCarthy executed and played this game. You know, he have his good moments and his bad moments, but when he played well, that just lets you know and gives you faith that he's going to be the future franchise quarterback. What I would still do is right now would still get somebody like a veteran present and have them, be the backup because you never know when JJ McCarthy is going to get hurt. And at the same time, they can help him through some of these growing pains. That final score was the Minnesota Vikings eliminating the Dallas Cowboys out the playoffs 34-26. I want to talk about the Monday night game. I know people like the Monday night game. It wasn't really much going on. Yes, it's still a lot going on right now with this game, and I want to talk about it. Aaron Rodgers is 8-6 right now. They lead the divisions, and they look like they will take the division. This is the team, too, that will be coming into Detroit, so I got a good eye on them right now. An old foe coming back with a different team in the AFC who wouldn't mind putting us out the playoffs. So yeah, this has a lot of implications next week. Tua Tagovailoa has been really inconsistent this year. A lot of interceptions, but he didn't play as bad as I thought he would in the cold. Even though this game right here, when you see it, it wasn't even close. That final score was definitely worse than what it's supposed to be. I believe that Tua Tagovailoa ended up getting a touchdown on the last drive. He had 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick on the day. Aaron Rodgers had 224 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns, and he was clean. Devon Achane had 12 carries for 60 yards, and Kenneth Gainwell had 13 carries for 80 yards. DK Metcalf had 3 receptions, 55 yards in the score. And Devin Achane again had 6 receptions for 67 yards. I just feel like the execution was better with Pittsburgh. And that's the reason why I feel like they won this game. The defense actually stepped up as well. That final score was 28-15. Like I said, this score wasn't even really close. It was just that they got a last minute drive to make the game look a little bit more interesting, but it wasn't really a lot going on in this game. But the reason I want to talk about this game because Miami Dolphins is now officially eliminated from the playoffs. And that has a lot of huge implications. I was talking to people and they were asking now that things are going south with our team, who do they feel like we'll have as offensive coordinator? And it was somebody I had in mind, and that was Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniels. I don't know how that materialized, but I mean, you can hope at least at this point. Like I said, 28-15 wasn't really a good score in this game, and I feel like it could have been better. But when you look at it, it just basically had playoff implications, and I wanted to go over it. There are things that still need to be done, and things need to be capitalized on too. For all the people who are fans, I want to be honest. I want to be straight up and at least give you the scores and tell you what happened around the league. The Ravens beat the Bengals 24-0. The Jets got blew out 20-48 by the Jaguars. The Cardinals lost 20-40 to the Houston Texans. The Browns got beat up pretty bad in this game against the Bears, 31-3. The Commanders and Giants game was a little closer than what I thought it would be. That final score was 29-21. The Raiders and Eagles game went just like I thought it would, 31-0. Some questions need to be answered. I wouldn't be surprised if Pete Carroll is on the hot seat right now and Black Monday they dismiss him. And then you had the Tennessee Titans versus the 49ers, 24-37. 49ers won. The Carolina Panthers, you never know what team's going to come out there any given Sunday. They turn around one week and beat the Los Angeles Rams, and then you lose twice to the New Orleans Saints. The crazy part is they're very competitive in the South, too, man. When you think a team's down and out, this is what happens. So that division is still open right now for the Buccaneers and Panthers. Nobody never seemed like they want to win that division. I want to move on now, and I want to talk about some of the things that I'm going to discuss too, as far as Week 16 implications, and I want to talk about who I feel like is going to win and give my predictions on the game. Okay, I want to start off. I want to make sure everybody got their pen and paper ready if they want to, go back over it afterwards. You have the Thursday night game. After coming off of that crucial game and that win, that huge victory, this could be a highest or the low type game. They have the Rams going into Seattle right now. Like I said, I don't know if Puka Nakua will be available. I know Devontae Adams might not be available. Well, he won't be available because he's week to week. In this game, I would normally pick the Los Angeles Rams. They got the Los Angeles Rams by half a point, or point and a half. I'm going to go with the Seahawks at home. I felt like it was a little disrespectful to say that. I mean, no disrespect and Rams doing their thing, but with the injuries they suffered with Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams, and you going on the road to Seattle, I got Seattle in this one. I like their chances. Eagles and Commanders, I got the Eagles by 6.5. Green Bay and the Bears, they have Green Bay by a point and a half. I'm going to go with Chicago in this one due to the fact that the injury to Micah Parsons might be crucial. I don't know if they'll be able to recover from that because I believe they'll have a good pass rush still, but I don't think it'll be as vicious of them having him play like the elephant and him being like everywhere on the field. I don't think that they will still be able to execute and do as well as far as their game plan. That hurts their game plan, him having a torn ACL and not playing. So I'm going to give the advantage to the Bears at home. Patriots and the Ravens. They have the Ravens winning this one at home by 3 points. I'm going to go with the Patriots on this one. Lions and the Steelers, they have the Lions by 7 points. I'm going to go under that, but I'll pick the Lions in this one. I definitely didn't feel like they was going to win last week. They played better than what I thought they would, but yeah, I'll take the Lions at home because the Steelers, the defense play good. Sometimes they don't. The offense play good. Sometimes they don't. But then the same thing with us too. It's very much similar. We have two teams that you never know who's going to show up. But I feel like with the playoff implications of what's at stake, the Detroit Lions can't afford to lose this game because right now they're at a 41% chance of making the playoffs at 8-6. But if they can win this game this week against the Steelers and then turn around and beat the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota and then go to Chicago and beat the Chicago Bears, which is going to be very hard because I've seen our struggles with Minnesota because of that defense. Then the same thing now too. The Chicago Bears is a better team than people gave credit for, and that defense shows up. And the offense, I mean, Caleb Williams is not a world beater, but he plays good enough to win. So yeah, those are three games we need. If we can seal that deal, we'll have a 91% chance to making the playoffs at 11-6 versus us being 10-7 and not knowing and probably need a lot of help to get in. We got to seal our own faith in this one. But I have the Detroit Lions in this one, like I said, and I will give them under that 7 points. I feel like that's too big of a spread. The Jets and Saints, I got New Orleans, and I'll take them with the 4.5. Bills and Browns going to be an awful game, but I'll take Buffalo with 10 points. Chiefs and Titans. I'll still go with the Chiefs in this one, but by a little margin. Chargers and Cowboys. I have the Chargers winning this game on the road. They gave Dallas a point and a half, and I'll give that to the Chargers. Vikings and Giants, I'll give it to the Vikings on the road with 3 points. Buccaneers, the Carolina Panthers. This is a weird game because everybody will pick Buccaneers in this one with all their weapons back and healthy. I am too, and I'm going to give them the 3 point advantage. Bengals and Dolphins don't have any playoff implications, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go with the Dolphins at home, and I'll give them point and a half. Jacksonville Jaguars and Broncos. This was gonna be a really good one. This is a 4-5 game. I'm going to give Denver the slight advantage with 3 points because I still feel like the Jaguars can beat them in this one. Falcons and Cardinals. I'm gonna go with the Falcons on this one. I'll give them 2.5. The Raiders and the Texans. I'm going to give the Houston Texans 14.5. And it's going to be a really good Monday game. The Monday game is the 49ers and the Colts. I still feel like with Phillip Rivers being there and substituting right now, I just don't think that they got a lot going on. Who would have thought that the San Francisco 49ers would be 10-4 with all the people that they that walk in free agency and having this young up and coming team? That's a good thing, and that's what you're supposed to have as a GM who knows how to execute, bring in and plug and play players and player development and keep you in the hunt. Every team who has these issues sometimes when they go into a rebuild, sometimes it just be a retooling, sometimes it's a hard rebuild. But with the 49ers right now being 10-4, I definitely give respect to that organization because I thought this was going to be a down year. And I still feel like that they will definitely be able to go on the road and beat the Colts in this one. So, yeah, that's my picks for this week. I would like to say thank you all for chiming in. I know next week I'll be doing a show on Tuesday, and then I might be taking a break until after the New Year's. Just wanted to talk to you all and say thank you for all supporting the show and the people who chime in. Thank you for the people who make comments on YouTube and Facebook and always show love to the show. I want my viewership to go up a little bit more. I usually have 30 people listening, which is pretty good because it's very consistent, but I would like those numbers to go up. So family and friends and people who hear about the show, like I said, you could go to the Guru Perspective. And at the same time, if you need to see more, I'm Hoovy on Instagram, WHOOVI. I put a lot of news and things up there as far as breaking news with the Sharon Moore news. I appreciate it because I did almost 7,000 on Instagram and over 5,000 on Facebook as well. On Facebook, you can see me and I'll be sports guru to you. And at the same time, I put up a lot of breaking news and reports and a lot of the scores is going on around the league. And I was very excited to put that up. Unfortunately, you don't want to prey on somebody's downfall. But when that news came out, I wanted to be one of the first people to put it out there. And it came up big for me. That was a home run. So thank you for all the people who chimed in and checked out when I gave that report. And Hugh.Lee6 is my TikTok page. I do well on there. Sometimes it's hit or miss, but I appreciate all the people who show love and support. I would like to say thank you. Like I said, once again, thank you to the Nighthawk Network, Coach V, my boy E-Buck and the Nighthawk Network, Dishing the Tea crew with my man's Big Meech, Big Red, Nikki, Marla Macy, Sean Love. And I would like to say thank you to Felicia for the Rumble Time to keep me up on my wrestling news and road to stardom. And if anybody I missed, I would like to say still, I would like to give my love and support to the Nighthawk Network. And thank you all for chiming in. Thank you for my sister Harriet and my family and friends who chime in as well. Like to say have a happy holiday and be blessed. It's tough out here, man, but you just got to keep your faith and keep it moving. But until then, I will see you guys next week. Thank you all and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.